It is sad. Say we have to talk about this story again. Andrechi made the story Bremo say nurses for Aqua strike in Ghana. People are complaining. Now it looks like nurses no can't Ghana for say enya dia strike no omo ebejai ende ochina kan even after court can say strike no illegal. Nurses for say they are not going to come back. Now I'm going to explain the thing well properly so every single person understands. And then where we have gotten to as a country and what some people are also saying. Say oh your nurse ni na wo tie me a. Listen, by all means me school am call SS me science. Na me class oba biara every single oba no me class biara omo ni na enda me ne okase omo nursing. Unim Ghana school system na unim say science classes there ya na man ndoso. Na me class man na wo ho no obia nursing. Ti ende se me ka me namfofo ye ka profession omo ameni omo wie school professional edosun pa nurse nurses for edosun because oba bia menim na me class bia nurse inti se nurse ni esu se ni sika sembi akwa atwe enu hunti yenye ni ye mana I agree because nurse in ejuma no enye easy. My problem with this whole thing has been the way and manner sanyama winina akoso. And we are all in this country to the point where emra through the courts aka say strike ya muko ye illegal now so still nurses nese dabi. Obi be bisa say nurse for krano omo asem neseni. And I'm going to explain the thing from my point how I understand, and then we'll go into today's story so you understand every single thing. Inti under a year, President Akufo-Addo, the last term in office, and a nurses no eka say terms and conditions be or more pay as nurses for. Of course, it was going to make their lives better. Enyama na nko mo pressure ye nyama omo no, ebe mo abrabo ayeye. Omo abrabo ho be hinhan ya omo kakra at least omo sika sem ni omo accommodation ni nyama bi no ebe bo omo kakra inti nurses say yen nyama bi mo. And you see they came on the table with an advantage because it was a voting year, it was an election year. And obian him say election year and na sa organizations see omo make your claims because the government in power no osiroso belusu se wanya mawa onkrofo no monto abama no Ghana has a nurses for nso doso in election year there wo de koto abanim na okata ne say yese mamia aban beye it President Akufo-Addo aban epene so ka say ye beye amamo. And you see I think say President Akufo-Addo aban omo anya due diligence, and I'm going to show you why they didn't do the due diligence. Ye be ready enkrata from one of the lawyers in the person of Oliver Baka. Inti nurses for no conditions now wo mo ka say o mo pe no and aban pene so, and I'm saying aban pene so because me feel say na election year, but aban to me anya because assembly kokopie mu wo court ye the injunction eto so injunction a yede to so no eye ekuo foforo bi a wo mo nso eka nurses fo ne ho a wo mo trese da bi aban emsa de we apese o yema nurses no wan nwi hu yie because ye nina ye ka ho nti se wo dwi hu yie a wo de ye nina beka ho na wa ya ma ye nina nti se wo ya ma nkrofo we pede a trese wan nwi hu yie nti ye the injunction ato so se men nyansa indeed aban anyansa because nkrofo ne nsemu a wo mo kan no na no kware wo mu Later, court in sensem no kowie ye bibia ekokoto ye no. Na NPP akakakra no mo fi abemu. Until still they couldn't implement it for the nurses. Nti NDC buy ya na nurses no katre NDC for say hey ye de ye mfa ho say NDC mo ya ban foforo mo aba. Ye ne NPP aban akwa agreement. Omo nya nyama we ma yen yesre mo. En NDC aban ka se yesre mo afen ni aba. Mo nya ntobo ase ma yen. Yen tena se ne yen kasa. En na nurses for no omo se dabi yen pene. Nti NDC aban in the 5th month no and a nurses no yempini no they are strike and na me no ka say na me ya say courts I can say strike na wo mo akono illegal nurses no still wo mo say wo mba me ya say minister epe nurses for no eni o mo atena se aka sample because ya asem na ba fie ni ye na ye wo ye ntena se nkasa nurses for no say dabi ye ni ho ye tu kwan because ewiase ni na nurses for no ye program wa broche ye ni na ye ko iti minister ye ntumi mma ene o ma mekasa look at this story. Ghana Registered Nurses and Midwives Association rejects Health Minister's call for engagement. Also, the Ghana Registered Nurses and Midwives Association has dismissed calls by Health Minister Kwabena Minta Akanda for striking nurses to return to the negotiation table. Minister ne se wo de yate mumbra ne yenkasa omosi yemba. In an interview on Channel 1 Newsroom on Saturday, June 7th, the association's public relations officer, Joseph Krampa, emphasized that the union is not interested in renegotiating already agreed terms. He stressed that the union spent several years negotiating the agreement and is only seeking its implementation, adding that if the finance minister signs the necessary documents, Ghana Registered Nurses and Midwives Association is open to engagement on a clear roadmap for execution, but not to reopen talks. Almost see nurses for nsɛm a wɔn ka and they say ya spend several years akasa deda NDC aban a mo aba no ye ne mo nkasa NPP aban ne de omo ne ani omo kasa ye NDC aban no ye ne mo nkasa tie mfi mo. If there are some specific things in the conditions of service which the minister wants clarification on to us, let the finance minister sign it. You call us, we come and sit down. Then there can be a roadmap. Let's implement it like this. We can honor this, but for this one, let's take our time. We are all humans. We are not interested in Ghanaian suffering. So that is what we are asking for. But if you call us as if we are going to renegotiate the whole thing, I think that is not fair, he said. The Ghana Registered Nurses and Midwives Association initiated the strike to demand the implementation of its 2024 collective agreement, which includes unpaid allowances and delayed postings. The industrial action has significantly impacted healthcare services nationwide. The agreement includes the provision of 13th month salary, fuel, and medical allowance. You got 13th month salary out here. Because months no 12, but you got 13th month salary. Some as allowances be fuel and medical allowance. In Yama or more penono 13th month salary, fuel and medical allowance, rural incentive allowance, and renewal of practicing license, among others. Inti, I must say, any strike continues until we are officially served injunction. I'm strike no. They are not even in this country to be served the injunction. They are not. And you see the effect it is even taken. And they say, and they call nursing training schools. Teachers never on the crown, they are not teaching. As a nurses strike halts teaching at Kumasi Training School, disrupts patient care at Konfanoti Teaching Hospital. As the Ghana Registered Nurses and Midwives Association strike continues at Ifian Kwanta Hospital. In the Naminoka say, our health system total breakdown because nurses no they don't want to sit down to agree with the minister. To be frank, let me read law in someone mekano. Oliver Baka and someone were kind on the law in Sensem. I mean, kinda the what actually happened. Embra Oliver Baka mo echo courts. Echo represente a year sadness school na. Omoka say yan form one kahuno. And then you understand the full story. But then I'm going to speak on this, as you guys know. So, Oliver Baka and Semo Okan. I say, let's talk the conditions of service for nurses. My main problem with the conditions of service negotiated by Ghana Registered and Nurses Midwives Association was that it was a porous and weak deal. To Oliver Baka, Semo Okan no. Say conditions of service no, na a weak. You see why I was telling you, say, na a election year, Indian NPP for air agreement nurses, no. Because if you sit down and you think about the deal, now to me who say, send your make no election year. And this is Oliver Baka, who was a lawyer in the case, who is saying, say, the deal was a weak one. Because a election year into nurses for can we, no due diligence, yen pass momo. Because ye per se, ye winnie. I say, on top of that, the deal was highly disfavorable to junior nurses. It just read as if they were intentionally sacrificed in the negotiations. Oliver Baka say, aside everything, crano, deal ne crano. No more nurse a jumani mo yen penifo ne pe. En anko mobe di ademe ombe di adododia na ewo ho. But na nurses in kolano. No mo ombe bre ased ye di omuti akwa si ye di omo adani gan ene ye ko twa omuti as sacrifice. E was a deal no emu. Also, this was also why PAP engine went to court to ensure that subsequent negotiations will involve other unions to ensure holistic representation and of varied perspectives. That was the real intent of the legal action, and they achieved it. In fact, PAPNG leaders did not want any monetary reliefs. We, as their lawyers, advised them against it and insisted that GNRMA must understand that there is a price to pay for incompetence. Also, now, that said, I think the Ministry of Health should not take the patience of nurses for granted. The conditions as negotiated must be implemented and backdated. And when the condition of service expires by next year, a more respectable agreement must be reached that understands that nurses are essential and indispensable workers, more indispensable than those we pay millions to under Article 71. I know some people have been lied to believe that the court injunction is why the government of Ghana isn't implementing the condition of service. The truth is, not a single system had been put in place for its implementation as at 1st July 2024. It was say as at 1st July 2024, nurses in same way are yeking. Na bakumpo yenye momo. To remind you, the injunction was granted a day before the scheduled implementation date. If systems were in place, why is it that when the injunction was lifted, nothing kicked in automatically? Inti omwa once the nurses ni bin se momo can say, oh, an NPP for ni bin se momo can say, oh, because of injunction, ebaye intiana Akufo-Addo aban why implement it? Because Akufo-Addo aban why na just be implement it. And the lawyer for ekuo na wo de injunction it so. Oliver Baka or some can say enye injunction ni bia NPP ni bi obeka sa asem ni be oboa. Because so here time our modern injunction ni ba ya. Or say injunction no. Or say the truth is that not a single system had been put in place for its implementation as at 1st July. But before that, no see, the injunction was granted a day before the scheduled implementation date. The injunction no, a day before the implementation date in a injunction. No? But before that day, no, at least nanka yen hu ne say, mo ya mo agin say mo be implement it, bi anywhere trace na ban e be implement ya de no. And so systems were not in place. Or say if systems were in place, why is it that when the injunction was lifted, nothing kicked in automatically? It was say injunction it because injunction will say ube implement bibia mo bi ochina na ndem the injunction aba. okay yate obeka say bia injunction ni to nyema nipa kro no yate later ye lifting injunction no the entire time ye lifting injunction no wan nyama nipa kro no because na dia no so be ye no china ene ndem me di injunction aba meboa nti wanya anya biom afei ye kɔ na ɔchina echi ye kɔ the following week me yi injunction no nti sɛ wo see indeed o ba be ya kɔso ana ye to live abaka nsɛm a ɔka no sɛ na aban ne kan yɛ ready so obe implement ya mo wa ye ready a omo yi injunction ni free so no na nke o sɛ aban ne implement it. Further, the case ended well before the new administration presented its budget. And it's been 6 months since. What stopped them from going ahead if the priority of nurses was a top concern? I mean, yes, Oliver Council bought this new government. Say case no end here, and a new government nearby. But new government so one fan can nurses no a budget. So sometimes instead of acknowledging the fact that nurses have been taken for granted for too long, including even by their labor representation, people want to divert attention. I urge the minister to come up with a roadmap, working with unions and the Ministry of Finance to prioritize and address the concerns of nurses no later than 31st July. Chasema can say minister no any nurses for maintenance. No new monkasa. Until latest by 31st July. Onye implementation momo. Nende nurses 4 year wo mayo mo adwen say omo ni minister ni meeting no person ni omo ye wo mo se omo mpene no. Me pese me bisa se minister no o pese create roadmap e mo a how wo mo ko no mo ni nkonko kasa no mo nko mo adwen trene se obe implement so onyo mo nko na mo nkonko tie but omo se ye ntie o ye mane wo man betenase ye nka he ye mfi seriously. If that fails, an industrial action will and must be inevitable. Let's treat nurses with due respect. Akando, fix this. For me, there's no problem. Seriously. When I say there's no, it's not like any way, but for me, in the sense that men kasa me support ya ban say aban catch nurses and say we need sika da bi men kasa because I mean aban penyimfo no kra no omo kra no omo sika ne yebetum enti se nurses omo condition so ye ni ya yemo teachers condition so ye ni ya yemo there's a reason why we voted for the NDC government to make our lives better. What you say? So if you implement it. But nurses for so sabi someone call any aban yankwa tenasia. How will you know what they want to do for you? How are you going to know whether they indeed want to implement or not? Are you just sitting down and saying, oh, this year buying tea, saying is the name so money, and by force here cost strike? But yet now, Chrome Emra NPP for or more lifting injunction now, NPP time and what some implement or more implementing. We didn't hear anything from you guys. And you see, even among them, and yamina metena hakasa, even among the nurses, no. Let me show you a story. We another equal womonso omomoji awo. Unzo omomoji awonso yana Ghana hire from say omo ye nurses, right? Omomoji awom social nurses for uniform nibi. Or see, we feel bullied by the Ghana Registered Nurses and Midwives Association. Inti omo so ye nurses omoji awo kuo ababonti ababeka se dabi. Omo mpanyimfo ade a womo ye na se eyo shebi. Let's read. As the president of the National Association of Registered Midwives, Ghana, Letitia Asaba Atia, has said the association believes the Ghana Registered Nurses and Midwives Association is abusing its powers as the mother union of nurses and registered midwives in Ghana. So say omo mpanyimfo no ene from Ghana registered. Or say omo as omo ya manabroso, omo abuse omo powers. Or say Nam Ghana has dissociated itself from the ongoing strike action by the Ghana Registered Nurses and Midwives Association to demand better conditions of service. According to Letitia Atia, due process was not followed by the Ghana Registered Nurses and Midwives Association in declaring the strike action, as no other union agreed to the strike except Ghana Registered and Nurses Midwives Association. Almost say, you will be BFN due process. Se nurses for ba declare striker. Omo nyina be ko meeting na omo ato so aba. Ye nyina ye pene se ye nko striker ne yakọ. Ye nyina ye ka se dabi. Ye ni minister ntena se ne nkasa mo a ne yaye. Omo ko meeting kokọ tena ase no. Omo ampene so se wo so wo mo ko strike. And now you understand why the head of the president of the Ghana Registered Nurses and Midwives Association, the NTR, Nikunu, or yeah, NPP, because Obi Krabe Katem so standing on the ticket of NPP, Sen and Quebec Parliament, and so when we need. The NTR Nikunu, or yeah, NPP constituency chairman, no, and Crawford, air target, no, say as a one, or person sabotage, a year, His Excellency John Dramani Mahama, are buying because or yeah, NPP ni. Because a kuono air tresse, nurses phone kuono air tresse, ye be ko striker, ye ni na ye tenase, e pene so. Ye ko tenase ya mode strike by no, ye ka se ye mpene, nanso still mo akọ strike. Also speaking on TV3's Hot Issues, Sunday, June 8, 2025, she recalled that Ghana Registered Nurses and Midwives Association demanded to hold a meeting alone with the health minister, requesting that all other 4 unions should not be included. Into unions no omo ye 5 ye kan nurses school ni na omo ye 5 omo mpanyifo ena ye the Ghana Registered and Nurses Midwives Association no omo nko ase omo pese omo nko ani minister ni ye meeting na 4 groups ni de ye mfre omo. Also this was after the minister Kwabena Minta Akando requested to meet the Ghana Registered Nurses and Midwives Association, National Association of Registered Midwives, Professional Nurses Association, Psychiatric Nurses Association, and Ghana Registered Midwives Association on May 30th, 2025, after the strike action was declared. It's your declare strike no. And a minister neka say yenshia nurses school ni na mo ye 5. Mo penyi and Ghana Registered Nurses and Midwives Association there. Na so ekobi nso wo hwa from National Association of Registered Midwives. Ekobi nso from Professional Nurses Association. Ekobi nso from the Psychiatric Nurses Association. And a ko ba ko nso ye from the Ghana Registered Midwives Association. Also Leticia Asaba Atian asserted that the bargaining power granted to the Ghana Registered Midwives Association by law gives the association the power to take actions on behalf of NAM Ghana even when they disagree. Omo si omo na mbra ma omo kwan se omo take decision nti ada ekuo no se omo ampenekra na omo de omo beka ene wom. She explained that the association is left handicapped without any bargaining certificate. When asked by the host of Hot Issues, Kemini Amano, if NAM Ghana feels bullied by the Ghana Registered and Nursing Midwives Association, the Tishaba nodded in affirmation and replied yes. They are the largest group, and the law mandates that the largest group holds the bargaining certificate. They are taking the decision now, she added. Letitia Atian called on all midwives to come together and demand its own bargaining certificate, dissociating its bargaining power from that of the Ghana Registered and Ghana Registered Nurses and Midwives Association. Also, I don't think we need to wait for nurses to bargain for midwives. It is something that midwives generally think that it is not fair. It is a whole lot and union politics, but we still fight. We will still fight. Tutia semwa wokan ababe dane politics, union politics. Nsembebri on to mean kanini na and ye play politics ewo ye nurses nsem. And this is not coming from me. It is coming from another professional eku a omonso ye nurses school. Nti enye ye na ebeti na echi a yebekasa. Ti ende so obi kase as there is a deliberate attempt to sabotage His Excellency John Dramani Mahama amemu na eyentro ana say yenokware. All the stories are we dey show no. Media dey hamiani minister say mombra embeti na se ne yenkasa. O se yemba. Hey, obi asem o kan o see you see sometimes that is why you need to show people shege. O see you see and then His Excellency John Dramani Mahama memo ba ya wan makwan obi ankasa no and then there obi ani atra ne ninton minister mmoa a wo mo hye na se to mi ka se mo mbra na enye meeting na yenye we mo se dabi yemfiu and the president Akufo-Addo na mo akokuduro sei ene yante mo nka under President Akufo-Addo. That minister bet to me and say woni mu ye meeting mo se mo nye. Ene ante mo nka. Under President Akufo-Addo. The me yan say minister eye Kwabena Minta Kando. And I don't know why it looks like the nurses and those people, they disrespect him like that. Meaning because of the age no mo show said you. I say omo hwe ni age no mo de disrespect no. Muni amo kayembra wo tamale no. You see how the health workers over there disrespected him. Later, minister no mo disrespecting minister ni we na later ono ankasa ekokoto mfidie kokomo. By the end of the day, you see what they did. Okwa wa okohu say mfidie no poorly managed ni nyama okasa kakra pe. Omo ababonte ba be kasa tre minister ne te so ya akola bi. Asi ya nuhu nti omo ko strike minister na mba abonte amamba apologize ya omo mfi say hey. Utumi ni minister kasa sa wo krom ha. Ema ende bibie sini minister ne se mo de mombra ne yes ye mfi. I say I don't know why minim say NDC ministers no more too lenient to say there, and it's not their fault because Abaya, His Excellency John Dramani Mahama, they are following him. Only one kasa by heart. Obebu. But one thing about people are omoya saadi and say and check na nipanso etwa for also. Because for some reason, for some funny reason, eya na eya omo say unye bema ana bibi just because you are oh they be how you cool, they be how you cool. Because they've not seen some bad side of you. And the President Akufo-Addo namu ni namu tumi ya adie we ni ente monka no. Namu wa kukudro se ni ente monka. Mesi assembly ni na we na eme ya. Say Ghana Registered Nurses and Midwives Association rejects Health Minister's call for engagement. Yemba ye no want to say. A problem no dey. Asemi ni ho. Problem no dey. Asemi ni ho. Party. Asemi ni ho kra. Bibia be fine. Hey, the minister no we too kwan. He was on an official assignment. His Excellency John Dramani Mahama Esomano official assignment. Otise nurses ako a year strike eno di mirika or free ho because aside everything else, he has sworn an oath. Say Ghana for eno be hwe so. Nti say yasoma na akwa abrochire na se bibie si wo Ghana e wo se wo di mirika ba. Minister ni di mirika e ba be dru Ghana wanko fie mpo. Eno be yes nurses for mo de mo mra ne entina se yenkasa ne. And the nurses for ku no yes o mo de mo akwa abrochire. Omo mbra no metina se ne yenkasa o mo se da bi o mo mba because abrochi na o mo akono e ye wiase ni na nurses ku eno mo akọ. Nti o mo de me say ukotie the interview minister no one obi of asempa eye na ubesu ma minister no minister mo a complain say me frɛ wo mo se wo mo mbra ni entina senkasa omu ni na obi ase wo mba omu ni na ase omu ni Ghana me say ubesu ma minister no senior na minister no odi yaw kasa nti na President Akufo-Addo wo di ade we be President Akufo-Addo minister na NPP for betina se ahe the omo beye bia ye beyi we free ho as the head of the Ghana Registered and Nurses and Midwives Association no ye beye ni you NPP for the ye beye bia ni nka by this time agenda bi koso ya sha agenda bi ase a wo sam nipa kro na wote se ku na no wuti krate but yes NDC abanyaba lenient government aba Obi the assembly betu social media, and I don't know how true it is, but it is also related to this. Mami read in the background no. Ochemu I was say buying air plan. They say any, but I don't think something like that can happen. Now see, according to a credible source, plans are underway. In fact, Melodies Ebusian for me reports this story with the very first day. No, Melodies Ebusian for crack and assembly. I say according to a credible source, plans are underway to replace some of them on the specified dates, and those who are on duty and fail to report will be replaced, given that the strike is illegal. Nti nurses no a wɔn ka sɛ wɔn akɔ strike still nti mo bia nkɔ si total withdrawal of all services nurses no ade a wɔn ba bɛ issue yɛ ni sɛ 9th June ɛndɛ wɔn withdraw all services ɛna obi aba bɛka sɛ ɛsan sɛ court ama order ne nti ɛndɛ woyɛ nurse na wankɔ edwuma a yɛbɛgye efiri nsɛm because nurses bebree wɔ fie a ana president Akufo-Addo yamfa wɔn nti aban wei bɛfa wɔn. I don't know how true that is, and I don't know how simple. You see, it's not that simple. Now you have to put them on payroll before you clear them. It's not something that can just be done in a week or something. But yet krom ha, ye bebe biano, me de bebre mo. Montre mo your comment box ni mo. Me da se.